Welcome back to the Football Corner Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah Queen. And before we get started with today's episode, I want to for all my viewers out there to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're listening on a podcast app, I would like for you to subscribe to the podcast. Cue it up. So, week one of the NFL season is almost in the book. And I would like to do a Sunday recap of all the games that have happened leading up to Sunday Night Football. So the first team I want to touch on would be the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs had reason for concern in the offseason when they traded Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins for draft picks. And I was one of the people who were worried about Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense not being as effective. I know it was only week one, but based off the week one performance by a former playoff team of last year, the Arizona Cardinals, the Chiefs look like they will run their offense just fine. Pat Mahomes ended up throwing 5 touchdowns against the Cardinals, put up 44 points against that Cardinals defense. And I know the Cardinals defense is not the best defense in the league, but for Pat Mahomes to throw 5 touchdown passes and not have Tyreek Hill on the field goes to show you how much depth is on that roster and how well Andy Reid and that staff were able to go in free agency and pick up good players to surround Pat Mahomes so he could still be as effective as a quarterback. Now, Pat Mahomes still has Travis Kelce, who's going to be a future Hall of Fame tight end in the NFL, but it was amazing. It was amazing to watch. 5 touchdown passes, nearly 400 receiving yards. And they beat the Cardinals like it was nothing. It was easy. It was effortless. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 2 receiving touchdowns. Travis Kelce had 1. This team is loaded from top to bottom. And for anyone to say the Chiefs will be missing Tyreek Hill, they weren't at all on Sunday. The next team I want to talk about is the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens played the Jets, and I know the Jets are the best team in the NFL, but Lamar Jackson threw 3 touchdown passes despite not having any good receivers out there. I know he has Rashad Bateman, and he has Devin Duvernay, a special teams guy. And those are the guys he was throwing to. Lamar Jackson didn't really run the ball that much. He only had 17 yards on the ground. It goes to show you he wants to be a better passer and show people he can be a good passing quarterback. So Lamar Jackson did not run the ball at all. He barely ran it. He had 6 carries for only 17 yards, and he ended up throwing 3 touchdown passes with passing over 200-something yards, right? And it was good to see Lamar Jackson doing that. And I understand the Jets are not the best team in the world, but it goes to show you that Lamar Jackson can get it done with his arm and not having to use his leg. And it goes to show you that Lamar Jackson, even though having not the best receivers in the world, can get the job done to get his team to a victory. And the final team I want to talk about in this Sunday recap is the Steelers. The Steelers played smash mouth football. They ran the ball a lot. They made safe passes with Mitch Trubisky. And they play really, really good defense. That Steelers defense was electrifying against the Bengals. And the Bengals, I even had the Bengals winning that game because I didn't know what type of Steelers team we'll be seeing. But if week one is just a precursor to what we might see going forward, I believe the Steelers will probably make it to a wild card, what might be in the wild card. And it's week one. I don't want to overhype it. A lot of things could change. I usually try to give it to week 5 of the NFL season before I could determine how the team will be. But based off of watching the way that Steelers defense played, they had 7 sacks. They had 5 turnovers on the reigning division champions of the AFC North and the Bengals. And they fought hard. It took them into overtime before they could get a victory with Chris Boswell getting a game-winning field goal in overtime. But I was glad to see the Steelers are going back to their old ways of the team, run the football, safe passing, good defense to get a victory. So now I would like to introduce a new segment we'll be doing on the show for the rest of the season. It will be called Best and Worst Performances. And I will use this segment every week after every Sunday. It'll be on every Monday. We'll have this segment, and I will tell you the best and worst players, in my opinion, from the previous week's games. So my best performance will go to Pat Mahomes. He threw 5 touchdown passes, threw for 360 passing yards, and had a 144 passer rating. Pat Mahomes was electrifying. There was nothing that could stop him. It would take all the defenses combined to stop Pat Mahomes from delivering a greater performance than he did on Sunday night against the Cardinals. Now, the worst performance will have to go to the Bengals quarterback, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had 4 interceptions, a lost fumble, with a total of 5 turnovers. And for a team that rebuilt their offensive line in the offseason, he still was sacked 7 times. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 7 times Joe Burrow was sacked. And Joe Burrow, until he actually get a competent O-line, this team cannot have longevity success in the future. They have great weapons. They have Joe Mixon. They have Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, etc. But this team cannot get far if they cannot reassure the offensive line. And maybe it was just because they were versing the Steelers, and the Steelers have been number 1 in sacks for the past 5 seasons. So maybe they just picked the wrong day to play the wrong team, and the offensive line didn't have no chemistry, were not prepared. But Joe Burrow was atrocious, and even with his horrible performance, they was able to stay within the game and took them to overtime in order for them to lose. But Joe Burrow has to play better. You can't have high turnovers and expect to win. That will be the worst performance of Week 1 Sunday football. All right, time for upset of the day. This will be a segment I'll be doing every week after the Sunday games to tell you what team I thought had pulled off the biggest upset of the week. And in this case, for Week 1, the biggest upset, in my opinion, will be the New York Giants over the Tennessee Titans. Now, the New York Giants were a team in the offseason that no one believed could be successful this season. I know they have a new head coach, but most people, including myself, don't believe in Daniel Jones as a quarterback. And Daniel Jones came through when they needed him the most. Daniel Jones played pretty good football. He still gave you 2 turnovers like he would do every week. It's bound to happen. He always has that one horrible fumble because he doesn't have the best pocket awareness. And he threw a bad interception because he tried to force it to Saquon Barkley in the end zone, which wasn't necessary. But I think after that interception, he would drive them down the field and throw what would end up being the game-winning touchdown. And Tennessee would get the ball back with a chance to kick a 47-yard field goal, and Randy Bullock will miss the field goal because Brian Daboll ended up calling a timeout, which essentially had to ice the kicker. So Daniel Jones' performance, didn't throw for 200. He threw for under 200 passing yards, had 2 passing touchdowns, had an over 100 passer rating. So I did enjoy that. But the biggest thing I think that helped this team to pull off the upset will be Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley had 18 carries for 164 rushing yards, and we haven't seen that since his rookie season. Saquon Barkley is back, I believe. I was very skeptical of what Saquon Barkley will get, so I never really drafted him in like fantasy or anything. But Saquon Barkley seems to be back after his Week 1 performance, and sounds like this Giants team will be competitive for weeks to come. Thanks for watching and listening to the Football Corner Podcast. Podcast episodes will be dropped on Mondays and Fridays, as well as YouTube videos on Mondays and Fridays. You could click the link in my description in order to follow the social media links to my podcast social media pages. And also, you'll be able to stay up to date on new drops, new takes, and all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. See you next time.